All right, here we go. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Second Winds Podcast. This is Brian, Josh, and we have our guest today, Matt Seeger. I'm going to go ahead and give a little introduction, and then we're gonna open up. I got a little hair on here. Oh well, we'll deal with it. Okay, so what's that?
Nikki's been doing her own
she comes,
podcasting down here.
She comes down here and sets up on the table and does all kinds of fun stuff. Okay, everybody. So if you don't know Matt's a retired Navy submarine senior chief. Somebody asked me once, they're like, why do you put submarine in there? Or no, Navy and submarine. I'm like, well, there's people that are going to watch this that don't have any clue about the Navy from like Nebraska or wherever. So I just put it all in there for anybody that doesn't know. And Matt was an A-ganger. A-ganger. Auxiliary division. Real quick, for anybody that doesn't know anything about that, they're pretty much the guys that do everything. Josh and I didn't do shit. I was a sonar tech, and I'm just openly admitting it. I didn't really do anything. Our job was primarily focused at sea, and all the sonar techs that are watching this are like, Brian, that's not true. Come on, let's face it. Import, we didn't do much. Josh ordered all the food, put it away, and then cooked it. And then
it just looked good doing it.
He just looked good doing it. And then for us sonar techs, we were manned for at sea, so therefore the workload in port was very small unless something broke. And then it got even worse towards the end of my career because we just pulled servers and replaced them. Okay. He's from Philadelphia.
Yay, Philly.
Home of Sylvester Stallone's character Rocky. And 20 years in the Navy, right?
20 years.
20 years.
Woo!
To the day.
Oh.
Which hold on, we're going to have a fun fact here in a minute. He's been married to his wife, Allie, for 13 years, and he has 2 awesome children. I've met his son numerous times because both of them used to come into the barbershop all the time and I would cut their hair. So here's the interesting fact. I'm going to let him tell you the dates. I'm not going to tell it to you. A little interesting fact about Matt is he joined the Navy. He retired from the Navy. And he quit drinking all on the same day, obviously years apart.
Yep. So January 12th, 2004 was coming into the Navy. January 12th, 2020 was quit drinking. And then the January 12th, 2024 was when I retired.
So how many years has it been since you quit?
5.
5 years.
5 and a half.
5.5 years. Wow. That is awesome.
Yeah, man. Congrats.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
no
That's
kidding. That's huge. But that's neat. Like, when you decided to quit, you didn't plan it on that day, did you?
No. That was just the way that the dominoes fell that day.
Now, did you plan retiring on the day, 20 years that you came in? Because, like, I tried, but it didn't line up that way for me.
Yeah, I planned the retirement 20 years to the day. Here's my last day.
Man, good for you. I knew guys that did that, and I was like, I always wanted to, but, like, it just didn't line up for me.
Leap years got me. They got me.
Did they really?
I did 20 years and 6 days. I just couldn't because of the leap years. I was like, wait a second.
He said, leap years got me.
Yeah, man, they couldn't. They pushed me out those 6 days. You know.
Oh,
Yeah.
boy.
Those dirty leap years.
So like I was saying, I used to cut Matt and his son Lucas's hair in the barbershop. Matt and I had met throughout the time that I was in the Navy. We've seen each other here and there, but that's when I really got to know him. And I'll tell you, we fostered a great relationship and good friendship in my barbershop. And Matt was the one, I mentioned this a couple podcasts ago. I don't remember which one it was. Matt was the one that told me one day when I was cutting his hair, he said, you should sit down and do the math on how much money you were spending on alcohol in a year. And I did. And it was a lofty number, but I'll tell you, I'm going to ask Matt, do you remember what yours was? How much you were spending?
I can look it up. I don't remember what it was then.
Yeah, I know mine was high. It was at or near or maybe even over 10 grand a year.
Yeah, we talked about that. I think episode 2.
Yeah, I think it was 2. Yeah, it was somewhere right around there.
When you were telling your story.
And I remember saying we're gonna have the guy on that. So that's, if you're listening to this and you're one of those guys, one of those people, I don't want to just say, listen. Okay, let me just throw this out there. If I say guys, I'm not trying to be like offensive to anybody. It's just how I talk. So just kind of get over it.
Don't just roll with it.
Right. So if you're one of those guys that has either quit, want to quit, or you're like still drinking, and it's a problem for you, take Matt's advice and sit down. And I remember like when being a kid, my mom was a smoker. And at one point, I think she was a 2-pack a day smoker, which, good Lord, I couldn't even imagine. I never smoked, so that was never advice for me. But sit down and do the math on how much you're spending on alcohol a year. And just think about that, because it's probably astronomical. I could not believe it.
Yeah, so you can, just on the alcohol, right, think about it that way. But what about the alcohol at the bar, the alcohol at home, the food while you're at the bar,
Oh,
the
yeah,
gas,
the whole
like,
experience.
If you put all of that together, it's a lot more than what I tracked to begin with. But adding all of those external factors into it all, right? I mean, in the Navy, we've talked about it. How much does a DUI cost a sailor in the Navy?
Oh, yeah, that's always there.
It's always a conversational piece, right? And you never really think about it on the other side, right? Just to be sober and say, I'm not spending money because I'm not leaving work, going home, going back to the bar, driving from that bar to the next bar. Oh, it's 7 o'clock. Let me grab something to eat at, wherever I'm going. And then I drive back home, right? It's actually a lot more than what you think when you put the numbers on the piece of paper. It was eye-opening for you.
Oh, yeah,
It was eye-opening for me. And I got the idea because my mom did the same thing you did. When she quit smoking, she would take what she would pay for a pack of cigarettes a day, and she would put that into a jar. And at the end of the year, she pulled all that money, and that was like vacation or Christmas present, or you know what I mean? That's where that money came from. So then I thought about it afterwards, and I started doing the numbers, and I went, well, that's a lot of money I spent, right? Just buying booze.
And we
alcohol.
do it like this throughout the year, every day. It's
Oh,
like it's
man.
nothing.
Absolutely.
And then when you look at the final totals, you're like, oh my gosh, that could have paid something off.
There
That
was
could have
always
taken
money
care
for
of
it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But there's always money for it.
There's
And
always
at the
gonna be.
time, you never thought about it. You're just like, $20 here, $40 here. Even, a hefty night at a good bar, eating dinner, playing the games, could be a couple hundred. But you don't. You're just like, whatever.
right.
Until you add it all up and you're like, what?
There's always going to be money for booze when you're drinking.
Oh, yeah.
Never going to run out of that.
Right. You'll put everything else off to the side
Yeah.
just so you have
Yeah.
that money for that booze.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because that's the habit. That's the addiction.
Yeah, so I'm gonna open it up real quick. I just wanted to ask Matt, is there anything else that you want to talk about, like with your personal or your career, before we get into your story?
I mean, my career, my story will kind of touch on my career, right? I mean, it was a normal career, right? I did 20 years. People thought I was crazy. I forget who it was. I think it was Alan when Alan was on here. You guys had a little conversation about why would you ever do a Chiefs tour a second time? I did 3 of them.
Glutton for punishment.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it, right? But part of that was in my head. That was sobriety to me, right? If I'm at sea, I can't drink. If I can't drink at sea, I don't have a problem, right? It didn't matter, right? So I mean, I did my Chiefs tours. Spent a lot of time at sea. I did a little time in special projects. For people who don't understand that, that's kind of outside of the submarine community.
Yep.
We do some stuff that's a little different. I got to wear civilian clothes for 3 years while I was there. Right, it was a pretty enjoyable time. But there was a part of submarines that I missed. That's why I came back. Came back to Groton and stayed here since. But yeah, no. Did 2 tours on San Juan for those people. I know Ray was on last week or 2 weeks ago. You guys were talking about San Juan. I did 2 tours there. That was a good time. I lost a finger while I was there the one time. Right, so I became an amputee in the Navy.
Hey, look at that.
But no, I mean, normal, I would say a normal military lifestyle, right, all the way up till January of 2020. So.
Good shit, man.
Yeah, man. That's
It's deep. All right, well, floor is yours, man.
All right. Right. So like I said, right, January of 2020 is when I kind of got sober. Not kind of. That's when it all happened. Looking back on it, right, and I think Josh and I talked about the one day when we ran into each other at the exchange. I think there's a difference between acknowledging the fact that you have a problem and accepting the fact that you have a problem. After I got sober, right, I kind of looked back in life and, like, you look at it from a different point of view. I look back at when I was 15 years old, 16 years old, and I probably could have seen this coming a long time ago and not had the problems that I had, right? I was 15, I would say, first time I got arrested for alcohol, right? I had friends from high school that put my name into a pile to go to a rehab that my school offered. So I went to rehab, right? So this was all in my teenage years, right? Getting arrested for alcohol, going to a rehab because of it, court mandated rehab, all before I even joined the military. So looking back on it, right, acknowledging and accepting it, I think is a big difference for some people, right? You tell yourself this lie in your head that I don't have a problem because I can go to sea for 6 months and I don't drink while I'm out there.
Oh yeah, I said the same thing.
Right? And you're not really accepting the fact that you do have a problem, right? It could be you go 1 week, 1 month, whatever it is, but if you keep coming back to that same thing, you got to kind of look at it from a different lens. So I kind of looked back at everything after I got sober and realized, like, you probably knew this was coming. My father was an alcoholic for many years. He was probably sober for the last, I'd give him 7-8 years of his life. So I kind of grew up in that world of, like, this was okay. And something my father told me when I was young, I'd go to the bar with him when I was, 9, 10 years old, sit at the bar with him. But something he said to me when it's, you don't have a problem if there's a roof over your head, clothes on your back, and food on the table. And I kind of lived by that through my 20s, even into my 30s. My kids always had a roof over their head. There was always food on the table. There was always clothes on their back. So did I really have a problem if I'm providing those things for them? I always told myself no. It wasn't a problem, right? They have everything they need. There was no wants that they had, and they just kind of lived their life, and they were happy kids until January of 2020. I actually, last week when you guys were talking, was it last week with Ray?
A week before.
2 weeks
ago?
Yeah, 2 weeks.
His story is kind of the opposite of mine, right? DCF came into my life and was going to take my kids, right? And that was kind of like, that wasn't the catalyst that said, hey, it's time to go to rehab. I had already made that decision. I had already been to Bacchus Hospital. I already been to SARP. Like, Monday morning, I knew I was going to rehab. On Tuesday, DCF showed up at my door and wanted to take the kids away. Right? So, like, you just add to the things that, went wrong, and what got you to the point of, realizing, hey, it's time to get sober. That whole weekend to me was kind of a blur, right? That January 12th weekend. So Friday, me and the wife had a big argument. A lot of alcoholics, right? You have fights with your significant other, or you just feed into each other to where you have an alcohol problem. I'm going to go drink because I don't want to deal with your alcohol problem.
Right.
Well, you have an alcohol problem too, right? Like, so January 12th, we had a big blowout fight. And I said to her on Friday, we were sitting at our kitchen table, and I said to her on Friday, I said, hey, you know what? Monday morning, I'm going to get help. That's what I'm going to do. Because as an alcoholic, if I can push it off till Monday, maybe she won't say anything on Monday.
Right.
I'll just go back to what I'm doing.
Right back to the same.
Yep.
So Sunday came around, right? I decided I was going to tie one on, just like I would every other day. And that's where everything kind of spiraled that night. I landed myself in the hospital. I actually made a phone call to my CMC at the time. Dave, I'll just put his name out there as Dave. Called him. I said, hey, I need help. And 10 minutes later, he was at my door picking me up, putting me in his car, dropped me off at the hospital, stayed with me all night. And then the next morning, it was, mental health evaluation, SARP, all of the good things to follow.
Yep.
That got me down the path to, actually being sent to Stonington. I did the Starlight program at Stonington, spent 28 days there, extended for the 2 weeks, because you can extend when you get to your last week. They ask you, like, hey, do you want to stay? Sometimes your counselor will say, hey, I recommend you stay. Some will say, you're probably good to go. It's your choice. I extended for the 2 weeks after the 28 days. And I enjoyed the time in the Starlight program. I don't know, between Starlight and Tony up at SARP, if I would still have the life that I have now if I didn't find those people in my life. Starlight was I don't know. It was weird for me, right? It's a inpatient program, right? So you're supposed to stay there for the 28 days. You live in a birthing area. You get up and you eat with the same guys, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I didn't get to do that. I was actually a caregiver for my father at the time who was living with me. So I had to go home every day. So I would get up in the morning. I went to SARP. I had to piss in a cup. I had to blow into a breathalyzer to show that I was clean and sober. And then I could go to my classes throughout the day, and I had a schedule, right? It was just like a college class or a college schedule, right? You had to be here at this time, and you kept going. But I did that. And then I walked away from that, and I did another year of counseling afterwards, a little over a year and a half up at SARP on base. Tony was my counselor from the day one when I walked into SARP till the time I left SARP. And he's probably one of the biggest reasons that I stayed the course afterwards. I don't know if you guys have ever met Tony up there.
No, never.
Me and him relate, right? He's a big Philadelphia Eagles fan. I'm from Philadelphia, right? So we kind of got on tangents sometime about sports, right? But it kept it real to have a conversation with somebody that wasn't just, hey, you're doing good things, or hey, you messed up this week, so on and so forth. But yeah, no, it's been 5 years, right? Tony talked to me a lot about some things that kind of, stuck with me through the entirety of all this. Some one-liners that some people never heard of. We talk about your firsts in sobriety. Your firsts never go away, right? It just becomes less and less of them over the course of time, right? I still think about firsts that I'm going to have in 5-10 years that people that still drink will never experience, right? Walking your daughter down the aisle to get married, sober.
Oh, I bet.
Right? Most dads are, whether you're an alcoholic or not, right? They've probably had a beer or two or their preference of drink before the wedding.
Right.
Right? So there's you're never going to stop having these new firsts. I got to watch the Super Bowl sober for the first time. Like, what do you do?
Crazy, right?
You're supposed to have a drink. You're supposed to have a beer.
Your first holiday season.
Absolutely, right?
With nothing.
And you take them.
Oh yeah.
No, go ahead.
No, you're just like It's like you're saying these things and they're all fluttering back, man. They're flowing in. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, it's like memory lane.
The Rolodex of memories are just coming in. Keep going though. You're doing great.
But I mean, those memories, right? Like, would they be the same memory if you had a drink that day or a couple drinks, right? So you got all these firsts that you have, right? And you guys talk about stacking wins, how small they are, how big they are. It could be just that day, like that's a win, right?
Oh yeah.
I got to watch the Super Bowl sober for the first time in how many years? That's for somebody that's going through recovery, that's a great thing. And you'll have holidays, birthdays, sporting events, all of the things. I actually thought about not doing a retirement ceremony because what do you do at a retirement ceremony?
Everybody.
Everybody. Right?
Yep.
People stand up at the podium on their retirement day holding drinks.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Like crack a beer underneath the podium as they're going, right?
Yep.
Like, I got nothing against it, right? Your retirement ceremony is not really for you. I think it's for your significant other. But my wife also gave up drinking the day that I gave up drinking.
Oh, wow. That's huge, man.
And, I'm thankful she did, right? It's kind of like if you're a smoker and you smell somebody that smokes, like that smell of it, right? I didn't want to lay in bed and have to smell beer or have the alcohol in the house at the time, right? It was just, but she gave up too. So, she's had a couple beers here and there over the years, right? But she never had the problem. It was always
Right.
my problem, right?
Yeah.
And I had to deal with it. So, but yeah, there was a whole bunch of firsts, right? And trying to get through that first year is really where you get those first couple firsts that mean a lot to you, and the memories that come back, right? It comes overwhelming, right? There's some things
Oh.
that, you know.
Man, you aren't kidding.
And then you look back on it, 5 years down the road, and you can think about all of those things that would never have happened if you had never gotten sober, right? I remember I had a fear when I first got sober, and was my wife never really knew me as sober Matt, right? Like, sure, it wasn't as bad as it was in January of 2020, but there was always, a beer here and there, right? There was a couple drinks on Friday, Saturday night, and it was always, a good time. Well, what if sober Matt's not the Matt that she wants to be married to? Right? So then you have these fears that come in, right? And it's like, what do I do about all this? At some point, you got to realize you got to take care of you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's about you. For me at that time, right, it was about my children, making sure they were okay, right? Going back to the, a roof over their head, food on the table, and clothes on their back. I was on the verge of not having that roof over their head.
Right.
I didn't know where the food would be for them, because they could have been with adoptive parents, or they could have been, in a home with a whole bunch of other kids, right, trying to figure life out. But yeah, no, it was a lot of firsts. You kind of get through them, and you live on those little things, right? The holidays that you're sober and you get to be present, right? Being present is really kind of one of the bigger things, right? My daughter is, softball 365 days a year. My son is, you name the sport and what season it is, and he's into it. But there was a difference between me being sober, watching my daughter play softball or my son play sports, or having a Yeti in my hand, full of vodka and you name it, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm not laughing because I think it's funny. I'm laughing because I know what you're talking about.
yeah, I mean, and if you do it right, I have nothing against it.
Right.
That's your choice.
I think what he's saying when he says that, I'm not going to speak for him, but I'm speaking for my. We're not judging anyone. Go ahead, Matt. Sorry.
Absolutely, right? If you want to continue to drink and enjoy a beverage, that's completely okay. For me, I had a problem with it, and it couldn't just be a beverage. So I myself knew that I had to stop, and I had to prioritize what really meant more to me, the alcohol or my wife and my kids. It's great now, right? I mean, 5 years later, there's nowhere I'd rather be, right? Me and the wife still have fights, right? It is what it is. But I think the sober us is 1,000 times better than the drunk us. For the kids, for ourselves, for our future. Going back to the money thing, I can now look at retirement, right? Like the view of how much money you need in retirement comes from the fact that I gave up booze so many years ago.
Right.
So, but yeah, you got those wins, and it kind of gets you through that first year, and you kind of move on the second, third, and fourth year. Another one that really got me was, if I put a gun on the table, none of you guys would pick it up and just shoot yourself, right? But you will pick up a drink, and you will poison your liver or other parts of your body, right? And I forget where I heard it, right? But being an alcoholic is the slowest form of suicide there is, right? And that kind of, hit a nerve with me somewhere along the way. And I thought about it. I wouldn't hang myself. I wouldn't, that's just not the life that I live now. But at that point in time, picking up a drink, it was killing your body, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the reality of it is you chose to do that, right? I mean, we all have vices, right? And we could talk about what is good for you and what's bad for you, right? I still chew tobacco, right? Can I give it up? Sure, Sunday, right? I might do it. but I'm poisoning my body, right? I get it. But the alcohol was just destroying, my body from the inside out, and killing me in different ways, right? Mentally, physically, you're just not being the person you're supposed to be. So that was another one that really stuck with me throughout the last couple of years, and just kind of driven me to where I'm at. I would say at this point, right, the first are far and few between. I don't have urges anymore, right? Like getting through those urges. There's another guy that actually went to the Starlight program with me, and I'll leave his name out of it, but we all know him, another fellow chief of ours. And we got talking one day when we were in the program together. If you left the base in Groton, there is not an exit, there's not a road that you can take that you do not pass a package store.
100% true.
Yep.
Right? So,
Like they systematically did that.
right, they put them there on purpose. So trying to get yourself home when you have an urge to want to go back to drinking and you want to stay away from the bar, well, you got to stay away from the package store, right? Whatever it might be, right? You got to find all sorts of new routes to go home,
Right.
or a new reason just to pass by your favorite package store, right? Or just going in the exchange and not going down the aisle where the alcohol is,
I had to do that a few times.
right? But you can't get to the coolers in the back of the store without going past alcohol. So, you kind of gotta live a different way with it, and make those changes, right? But yeah, no, the urge to drink went away. I probably picked one of the hardest times to quit drinking. I think you were right around the same time as me.
Yeah, I started that March.
Right, so COVID,
Yep.
right? COVID was one of the biggest times for relapses.
It was, everybody was drinking during COVID.
Right. And I chose to get sober at that time frame, right? And it was, can't go anywhere. What are you going to do at home? Everybody was drinking, right? Not me. I was trying to find something else to do with life, But, yeah, no, I mean, great things have happened since I decided to get sober. I harbored a lot of guilt when I, got sober, and kind of prior to it, right? And that's probably what really led to that time frame that to me sticks out as like the biggest turning point in my life, right? San Juan back at the time, we had a suicide, we had a stabbing on board, there was guys using drugs on board with needles, right? All in the same time frame. I lost my mother at that time. I harbored some guilt for that one, right? There was a whole bunch of things that just kind of culminated. And I don't know that I ever hit rock bottom, but the bubble popped for me, right? And it was like, this is way too much. And I was drowning myself in booze. Finding an escape from reality, and that escape was to pick up the bottle. But the bottle was just that temporary escape because, you wake up in the morning hungover and you would just go back to doing it all again, have to deal with the same problems that you had before, sober until you could get drunk again, right? There was a point in time where my kids would hop in the back of my truck and they would have to step over the bottle of vodka that was in my truck because it was constantly in there. Dad, what is this? No, don't worry about that. Just leave it there. Looking back on it, right? Like I put my kids' lives in danger with that. My wife's life in danger because we're functioning. We're functioning alcoholics.
Oh,
at the
yeah.
end of the day.
Yes.
100%.
Can I drive? Absolutely. Right. You talked about it, right? With driving, not having to worry about it. Your wife worrying about, are you going to make it home today? Right.
Yeah.
My wife did the same things, right? Where are you when you coming home? Oh, don't worry about it. I'll be home soon. And you come home and you're stumbling and did you drive home? Yeah. The choices we made. But yeah, no, it kind of sums up, how I've gotten to this point. Harboring all the guilt on that. And I kind of opened up and expressed it all when I got through the Starlight program. and how to deal with the guilt that you feel. It gave me a realistic view on looking at my father who was an alcoholic and how it related to me being an alcoholic. I read a book while I was there, Adult Children of Alcoholics. If you want to read it, feel free to read it, especially if you grew up in a family that had addiction issues. Kind of looking at how you are and your mannerisms sometimes of how you got to that point. You can relate to the book. At least I did. So I took that book and I read it. And there were some things that stuck out in there, and it's eye-opening to say, I am this way, or I suffer from this addiction because I was predisposed. My father kind of, it was inbred into me, like, hey, this is the way life is, right?
Made it seem like that's normal.
The normal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, this is the way it's supposed to be.
Absolutely, right? I had a girlfriend years ago. My wife's going to watch this. I hope she doesn't get mad. But we talked one day, and me and her...
I'll just mute it right there.
Right, just cut this part out.
So there's wah, wah, wah.
We can't hear him. What's he saying? Don't worry about it. We had a conversation, right? We were just living in a little apartment, me and her. She was talking. She's like, one day if we ever get married and have kids, there won't be beer in the fridge all the time. No, there's always going to be beer in the fridge.
The door's right over there.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's the way it was, right? Like, Dad would come home from work and there'd be a new case of beer every day, right? That was a normal thing,
Yep.
right? So I mean, you kind of you're ingrained to these things, and it's not necessarily got to be that way. As crappy as it was, my children got to see that for the first, however many years of their life, where there was always beer in the fridge. My daughter learned colors from beer, right? Go grab me the blue beer, the yellow beer. I'll take a red beer. And I would, I'd switch it up once in a while so she could learn different colors. Was I teaching her? Sure. She was learning colors, but at the same time, she was just fetching me a beer out of the fridge.
All right.
So, going back on it, right, I could have done it a lot different. But, everything happens for a reason, and we got to the point we're at. The kids are happy. Wife's good, right? My family's good now. And like I said, I wouldn't change any of this. I've thought about going back to drinking, over the years, 5 years, like, can I just have one? At this point, I've been sober long enough. Can I just have one? Maybe my daughter's wedding. No. Why go that long? To have one just for that night.
Right, right.
And part of it, I go back to my father. My father got sober. My sister got married. Me and my cousins, we're all sitting around drinking beer after the wedding. My dad comes down from his room. I got a case of beer sitting next to me. He says to me, hey, can I have one? I gave him one. He's a grown man. If he wants a beer, he can have a beer. And he never, he didn't spiral out after that, right? He didn't relapse and go back to drinking or anything like that. So the thoughts crossed my mind, right? Like, can I have one eventually? But to give up, 5 years, however many days that is, however many minutes, seconds, just to have a beer or a drink, it's not worth it at this point. So,
now, do you guys? I'll ask both of you this because I know. I think about it not in the context of wanting to do it, but I think about it in the context of other guys like us and whether they do it or not. I know some guys that do, and they seem to be able to manage that portion okay. Do you guys ever drink non-alcoholic beers, or have you? And if you haven't, would you? And if I know I'm asking a lot, and if you do, does it bother you?
So I've thought about it.
Yep.
There's that company,
Athletic beer.
Athletic Brewing Company or whatever it is.
Yeah, a lot of that's like the CrossFit beer of choice.
Yeah, it's supposedly like the best non-alcoholic beer there is.
Yeah, they got like IPAs and ambers and all this
Yeah.
other bullshit.
there's a couple other companies too.
There's a few, right? I mean, O'Doul's makes one. You know, there's
Yeah, O'Doul's have been around since
Heineken's
we were
got
kids.
one.
Yeah.
I've thought about it, right? But what are you getting out of it,
Right.
right? Like at the end of the day, did you really drink beer or whiskey? For
I
the
didn't drink it for
taste?
the. I mean, sure, the taste was there for some of it, but like, I had a whole conversation on one of the podcasts about when I talked to my doctor, and
Yeah, they
remember-
hit you hard with that one,
and
with your
like,
liver.
like I told her when I said, and I think it's on here on one of them. She said, when I finally told her that I was an alcoholic, she said to me, she said, I was at a normal physical, and she's like, how much, do you drink or do you smoke cigarettes? I said, no, I never have. How about you and tobacco? Yeah, I've been long time ago. It's been a long, long time. She's like, okay. Yeah, I got that in here. She's like, how about alcohol use? Typical bullshit. And I'm like, I said, I quit drinking April 23rd of 2023. She's like, oh, you know the date? I was like, yep, because I'm an alcoholic. She's like, I'm sorry, what? I said, yep, I'm an alcoholic. She said, well, you've never told me that before. It's the same doctor I've had for a while. I was like, well, I know I am, and that's why I quit. And I told her the reason and everything. She said, well, how much were you drinking? I said, do you want the truth? And she said, yeah. I said, probably about a bottle of bourbon a night, maybe a little bit less. She's like, ooh, goes to town typing.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, you know how like ladies like to say like, oh, just go home and have a little glass of wine. It'll make you feel better. I said, that never works.
Nope.
Like for me, a glass of, like if we're talking in the context of wine and how like my wife will say that stuff to her friends, I said, a glass of wine doesn't even get it started. Not even a whole bottle does, because wine doesn't have enough juice in it. I'm like, when I turn on the faucet, it's got to go until I feel it.
Yep.
She's like, oh. So like to answer your question, or to answer towards your statement, like that's for me, like, yeah, don't get me wrong, like I want it to taste good. I don't want to drink mud water, but at the same time, like if I'm the first burn was like to get it going. After that, it was like until it's just pouring it until it's making me feel
Till
it.
I feel it.
Right.
Yep. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, but I mean that's my thought is, do you drink it for the taste of it? And some people, really just enjoy the taste of it. But the reality is that you drink because of the feeling and the effect you get out of it. So to go to a non-alcoholic beer, as much as it might, just quench your thirst because you want a beer, you're also tempting yourself that much more because there's an expectation, right? There's an expectation when you drink something that this is what it tastes like. So as soon as you pick up that non-alcoholic beer and it's like, I'm not getting the effect and that expectation I have, do I just grab the
real
alcoholic one next?
Right.
Right? And make that choice?
Because I tried it.
You did?
Yeah, I tried
since you
them.
quit?
Like years ago, and it was the same thing. I was like, what am I doing? Like it is just making me want to fall off the rail. Like,
Right.
do I need to sit around the fire pit and have beer? No, I'm okay. Let me go get a seltzer water. Let me go get a Coca-Cola. Like, I haven't been drinking and doing just fine. Why do I need to have this? And I went, nope. And it was like, yeah, no, that is just. I felt like I was setting myself up to fall in a trap.
Absolutely.
And for me, I'm always like, if I have one, I know what's going to happen. I'm going to be like, my brain's going to tell me I can control it. And I'm like, you know what?
Right. I can have one.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll be all right.
And that's why I asked you guys before. I feel the same way. And I know people that have quit. They're like us, have quit, and they do that, and they work it. For me, I think, I can't speak for anyone. This is Brian's opinion, not a factual scientific thing or anything. I agree with kind of where I think you were headed with your thought, is that once you get to the point where you're an alcoholic, you're not really drinking for the flavor anymore.
No.
You're drinking because you got a purpose. Like, you go out and you buy that thing and like, this thing is going to get me where I need to be.
Yep.
And, it's going straight to the head. And so for alcoholics to even tempt that fate, I think we're already tricking ourselves into believing that we can control something that's out of control, out of our control. So I always, like I said, I always equate my situation to a light switch. I got to keep it off. I almost got to tag that sucker out and put like a lock on it. I can't walk over to it and even like walk in a room that's turned with the light off and attempt to turn it on, because if I do, I'm running the risk that if that thing's on, I can't turn it back off again. So those non-alcoholic ones, while it's in the Athletic Brewing Company, especially for where they target a lot of their marketing towards CrossFitters, I'm like, well, maybe I should give it a shot and see how they taste. But then my head goes right to like, what are you doing, dude? You are really putting yourself in a predicament where first it's that, then next thing you know, it's like, well, that tasted like an IPA, but it didn't give me the effect I wanted.
Yep.
Maybe that Dogfish Head will.
Absolutely.
And I'm just like, it's not worth it.
Yeah, for a long time, even sparkling waters.
Oh, I was afraid of those for a while.
I probably went 2-3 years before I had a sparkling water.
Yeah, I was afraid of seltzers too.
Right.
I didn't mess with them.
Use seltzer, and I would pour some vodka in there, and that would be a drink.
There was a mango seltzer from one company. I think it was mango. Megan could tell me. That tasted just like an IPA to me. Smelled like it and everything. I don't know if it was just something in my brain. It was triggering it.
The flavor nodes in it.
Yeah, and it like burned a little bit when I was like, I took one sip and I was like, I am not touching that shit because I don't need that problem in my life.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it was hard, right? I just started drinking seltzer waters again, but it was the same effect, right? I had an expectation that when I drank a seltzer water, I would have a certain feeling associated.
Yeah. Or
Right.
maybe even smell it. Like my dad, a good example is my dad would not drink orange juice when I was a kid growing up, because when he was a kid, they used that to put castor oil in, because when he was a kid, he was born in 1938. When they were sick as kids, they used castor oil for everything. You got sick, castor oil. You got dandruff, castor oil. They just gave him castor oil for everything. Well, they used orange juice to get the kids to drink it. And because he could taste castor oil and orange juice, he could
wouldn't
not
drink
stand.
orange juice.
Same kind of thing, right? So probably in your mind, you were afraid that if you drank that, you would almost taste the vodka or something, and next thing you know, you're triggering that thing to
Right,
turn
and you're
back
right
on.
back to ground
Yeah,
zero.
You're right
it's
back. Yeah.
the triggers that set you off, and it's like, man.
Yeah.
And that's why when I
was afraid
tried it,
Go ahead, Josh.
I was like, nope, I can't do this, because I felt my journey, I was just making a U-turn.
Yeah, right.
Because when do I eventually go and trick myself and go, I can control
I
this?
can-
Because that's what we do.
Because I know I
And
can.
I was like, nope. And I chucked that stuff. And I was like, you know what? I went this long. I was like, why do I have, it's like, you have this feeling, I have to have a drink. Because that's the way society, certain groups like that we might have been part of were like, oh, that's what we do. And it was like, no, I can't ruin the new nucleus I've made with my family. Because at the end of the day, the bottle's empty. Do I choose that empty bottle or my family?
Right.
And I was like, nope. It's a slippery slope with those non-alcoholic stuffs, because it gets you in the same mindset, and then you start hanging out and doing the things that's going to put you right back where you don't
you
want to
are.
be.
And
that's a part of the change, is changing your life.
Yeah, your
and
patterns
what you
and
do
everything.
and how you live. Because
I was scared to death of Diet Ginger Ale, because I used to mix, well, not very much of it. A whole can would probably last me 2 or 3 days. But I would mix Diet Ginger Ale in with some of my bourbon. I stayed away from that for a long time.
Right, for
Same
the
reason.
same reasons.
Same
Yeah.
reasons. We all, we're no alcoholics all that much different.
I tried to get my wife to start mowing the lawn, because I was like, babe, if I mow the lawn, I
I
smell the
can't
fresh
get on the
grass.
tractor without a beer in my
I'm
hand.
like,
Right.
I'm gonna want Miller Lights. You got to
Right.
start. She was like, you need to figure that out yourself. That lawn needs to be mowed. I'm like, man. I was like, you have no sympathy for me. Don't make me sloppy joes.
Sloppy Joes are in the last episode. Go back and watch it. Like and subscribe to the channel, please. Thank you very much.
Yes. Yep. The button. It helps us out. Yeah. But like things like that, you smell the fresh grass. It's like, oh, used to always have a couple beers after doing yard work. It felt good. It felt refreshing. It was like, you start, all right, but I have to get this done. And it was like, all right. And then it's, hey, I did it, drank my water or whatever. And it was like, poof, all right, I'm good now. I just stacked that win. That moment.
It's one
that
of those
moment.
firsts.
Yep.
The first that
Yep.
you go through, right?
Yeah.
The first
Yeah.
time you cut the lawn without a beer. The first time you barbecue without the beer in your hand.
Yep.
Oh man, I'm telling you, you bringing up those firsts were huge.
Yeah, I wrote
dude.
that because that's a really cool one to talk to people about.
That was a big
and get
one.
good conversations going about what was your first.
I remember coming into
Or,
the
you know.
first holiday season and thinking, because
Yeah.
like, so I'm like the cook of the family. I cook all the meals. Well, not all. She's up there probably cooking right now, but I cook all the big meals. And I remember, you know, like especially like Thanksgiving and Christmas. Hell, you start cooking in the morning. You know what you do when you're an alcoholic? You start drinking. It's like
6:30.
8:30. I'm cooking breakfast, and that's a good time to have a mimosa.
Absolutely.
Yep.
I don't even drink fucking mimosas, but guess what? I can today because it's cooking day.
Absolutely.
And not doing that during the whole from like Halloween's over, starts the holiday season,
Yeah.
so you start being stupid. And not doing that for the first
time.
holiday season, it was like, I remember thinking, this is going to be tough, but it's going to be cool. And then getting through it and like people coming over and family and stuff, and
Yeah.
and then it's like, you had to do some explaining the first time because some people were like, why aren't you drinking?
Hey,
man?
you want a drink?
You want
You want a beer? No.
No,
Like,
no,
I'm
I'm good, man.
good.
I'm good. And, you know, some people are like, what's wrong with him? It's like, there's nothing. He's good. You know?
Yeah.
Or you start making some new traditions with the families, like doing other things. Like, hey,
Right.
we've never done this. Why is that? Because Daddy
'Cause I
was.
That
Now
was
we're
drunk
like
at
going
noon.
to
Right.
do different events as a family,
Oh, man.
and
yeah.
and taking pictures, and you're getting memories. Going, I would have never done that if I was still drinking.
It's just,
And now I'm doing cool things and making memories for my son, for my wife.
Absolutely.
yeah, that first is
Yeah.
huge. That was great.
Like, I still remember the first time I went home to Wisconsin.
Oh, I bet that was big for your family.
Yeah, my parents were like, yes. My siblings were a little on edge because they didn't know how I was gonna
How to
be.
treat it. Yeah.
And I was like, you guys are good. Like just don't offer me anything. If you want to, hey, maybe even just go outside. It's August in Wisconsin. It's nice outside. And my son's running around naked again. He was 3 at the
I'll
time.
leave it to Teddy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
But no.
it's great that you're at a point now, right? I'm at the same point where I can be around it,
Yeah.
right? And
Oh,
the
yeah.
people.
Yeah,
Like,
it
doesn't bother
You know,
me.
there's some people that will never be able to put themselves in that situation again.
Yeah.
With somebody in a room with a drink and not have a drink with them.
That's sad. I feel bad for people like that because having gone our own ways, you know, with it, that's tough, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can be around it. It doesn't bother me. Like if I were to go over, you know, my in-laws or whatever, and they were drinking or had people over, it doesn't bother me any.
No, it doesn't bother me. I think my biggest one now is looking back on it is watching the interactions of people when they get drunk. And like, man, that would be me too.
Yeah.
Thank God I'm not that person anymore, right?
Right.
Like,
Do you ever sit there like at get-togethers that aren't family or whatever? I do this even at sporting events and look in the crowd and be like, I bet that son of a gun's drunk. Or he's got some alcohol in that cup.
okay. Oh, yeah.
Oh, I do
Or
that
you-
every
or you
now
see
and
him
then.
walk around like, bam, bam, bam.
Yeah.
Is that $35 right there? But wait, I'm still spending $17 on my Coke in the stadiums nowadays.
Right.
They
Right.
get you. I
Yeah.
just double up with pocket hot dogs.
Yeah,
know?
there you go. It's crazy. So, have you guys done anything big, like big events with your family, like going on trips and stuff since you?
Yeah.
I mean, you had COVID, so you had to get out of
we
that.
had COVID. And looking back on it, like I remember there was one Christmas we gave the kids like a Great Wolf Lodge pamphlet. We never made it to Great Wolf Lodge because of like we were talking before we started. I always found an excuse to not do something, right? I got this thing to do or that thing to do, or hey, we're going to so and so's party, or just the money aspect, right? Like, no, we're gonna save a couple of dollars for the booze instead of spending a couple $100 for the kids to go to Great Wolf Lodge, right? And I think back to it, that Christmas and how we told our kids like, hey, we're gonna go to Great Wolf Lodge. We never took them because of alcohol. But since then, right, I mean, being retired from the Navy now also helps, right, because you can plan those vacations. But we make it a priority now to, every year we're going on a vacation. Every once in a while on a weekend, we'll go do something just as if, you don't have to go far. It might just be a day or a weekend. We'll go do something with the kids. My daughter in sports, right? with travel softball, every weekend we're gone for the weekend. So would those things have happened? I don't know, right? I don't know that I would have stopped her, but I also don't know that I'd be the dad driving to New Hampshire without a bottle of something in there on the way up. So we do things now, and it kind of fills our time, right? Because when you first get into this sobriety thing, you got to find something that'll fill that void that's not there anymore.
Yes, definitely, definitely.
Right. You start learning, different people, friends versus acquaintances.
We've talked about that on here.
A couple times, yeah.
Yeah. I think it's because it's powerful. Like it's a big deal.
I think some people are scared of it.
Oh, I do.
Yeah.
I think that's another reason why some people are afraid of sobriety, because of who they're going to turn into and who they're going to lose.
Yeah, absolutely, right?
Or they think they're going to lose.
They may lose, right? I had that thought with my wife, right? Like, she might not like sober Matt.
Mm-hmm.
She still does.
And look at that. She's right there with you.
Yep, yeah.
That sweet beard.
She likes it.
There you go. See.
But yeah, no, I think people are afraid of it. The reality of trying to say, I have a problem. I don't know that people really want to, admit to it. And I think it's harder for men too, right? Men in the military live in this world of, we don't ever have problems. Like, we're okay.
Right.
We don't need help.
Right.
We're just going to get it done.
Right. You get it done. And then, for 20 years, I got it done. And then I went home and I drank because I wasn't helping myself at the end of the day. But yeah, no, I think that people definitely get scared of it, whether it's scared because they don't want to, admit it to themselves, or they're scared of how to interact with you because you're sober now, right?
Yeah.
If all we ever did together was drink, and now you don't drink, what do we do together? And that's hard for some people, right? To open up and say, hey, let's do something besides, drinking. But yeah, no, it's getting people to admit it, right? Or just helping somebody, right? I mean, the whole purpose you guys have here is great with this. If you just touch one person, right? I don't want to say touch.
Not
that
physically.
We know what you mean.
Yeah, but we know.
We help one person.
If you help one person, right? I have that success story, right? I'll call it a success story. It was great. It was probably one of the greatest things that happened to me through sobriety. I had a fellow chief reached out to me and said, hey, I need some help. He knew I was sober. We went through boot camp together, A school together, I need some help. I said, all right, what do you need? Did he need my truck? Because, that happens a lot.
Yeah.
He's like, no, I need to get sober. Okay. Well, here's the number to a guy. Here's the meetings that I used to attend, right? Here's the meeting if you want to come to a meeting with me. And I kind of broke everything down, and I left it in his hands. A couple weeks, months went by, and nothing. He just didn't have that, I need to get sober yet. And then I got a phone call from his wife one day, and she said, hey, he's in the hospital. Would you mind going to see him? And I went and saw him in the hospital, and he was detoxing in the hospital. And that was, it's eye-opening to see somebody, to be on the other side and see somebody detox.
Yeah, it is, right? Definitely.
Instead of looking at yourself detoxing.
Right.
And I talked to him while he was in a hospital bed, but he was, non-coherent, couldn't function, like, catheter-wise, like all of those things.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
To watch him go from there to where he's at now, right? That he finally got the help he needed. I was there for him for the beginning of his support, for whatever it was, family-wise, his kids, his wife traveled out of town while he was in rehab. I got her to the airport and back, right? I mean, that was a success story for me. And it's a great thing to watch somebody come out on the other side and really, flourish from what you gave them. So
that's awesome.
That's awesome, man.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's cool that you were able to do that and be there for him, in his time of need like that. That's big. That's huge.
Yeah, I think it was one of the things when you guys started doing this, I felt that again. And was like, oh, I know what that feels like.
It resonated
when I
with you.
when I
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, you were
Yes.
real early in reaching out. I think you were one of the very first few to reach out to us about wanting to come on. You know, obviously schedules you were real busy with your kids and stuff. And I was like, absolutely, you can come on anytime you want.
Yeah,
Yeah, we love you on here.
I think helping the people on the other side, right? It kind of gives me purpose in a way.
Mhm. Yeah,
Right.
oh, for sure.
Not focusing on my sobriety anymore, right? Because I don't have to focus on it like that anymore.
Right.
But being able to help that next person. I had this wild dream when I first got sober about on base. There's no AA meetings. There's no outlet, right? You have SARP, and there's counseling.
And
Yeah.
just real quick, SARP is it's. I'm not trying to take it and give any shitty way about it. It just has to the people that have never gone through it just feels like a negative connotation.
The stigma.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
word I'm looking for. Stigma. Like a negative stigma that if you either A, have to go to it, or B, you've been sent to it, or if you even think about it, that it's like,
Boom, you feel like there's a bullseye on your back now.
Right.
Like,
right,
You're a quitter.
I'm in trouble.
you're a quitter,
Yeah.
you're a shitbag, like, oh,
Can't handle it.
SARP. Like
Yeah.
you're like, everybody's pointing fingers at you, and all you did was like ask to try to get some help. Where like if you have an AA meeting kind of thing, it's like, oh, well, he's just trying to get his shit together.
Right.
Yeah.
But go ahead, I didn't want to interrupt. I just wanted to
Sometimes just call it a recovery group. You
Right.
know?
Just a group
Yeah.
in general.
just
right?
something.
But there's nothing on base.
I have a whole thought process on the Navy and alcoholics and alcoholism
We've had those conversations.
that I want to put out. I'll save it for a different day, for a different show. But go ahead.
But I had this pipe dream of just being able to be that outlet, right, and starting that AA meeting somewhere on the base, right outside of the base, to give the sailors, right, or even the retired guys,
veterans.
Yeah.
right, just an outlet, right, just to step into that room one day and realize that you're not alone, right. There's tons of men that go through this. I never got to do it all, right. I kind of stepped away from the AA meetings. I realized that really wasn't my thing.
Yep.
But yeah, I had that pipe dream probably early on in sobriety, and I was counselors kind of told me like, hey, why don't you work on your sobriety first before you start worrying about someone else's sobriety? And the years have passed and kind of fell through. So I never got to help, a magnitude of people, but that one guy that I did get to help, kind of gave me that purpose for it all.
No, that's
What
it doesn't need to be. And well, let me say, the fact that you helped one means that it's great, right? And I truly think that what I think is, I saw this. I don't remember whose podcast I was watching, but one of the interesting things about the ability to reach people with this is that we don't have anybody telling us what we can and can't do. I mean, to a certain extent, right? Obviously, YouTube can take our stuff off
Right.
if we start going down and messing with their policies. But the point is that unlike a news broadcast or a talk show host or whatever that's bound by networks, we're not.
or contract,
Or
stuff
contracts
like that.
or any of that kind of shit. So the cool part is when I first started thinking about this, I've talked to Megan about it, and I was like, hey, I think I really want to do this. The idea in my head was the reach that we can make if it starts to get really big is just astronomical, which I don't understand all the algorithms and everything, and I'm learning it or whatever.
That's a big word.
I know.
You're talking to a cook. Yeah.
And an egg hanger, right?
Thanks so much. Zach.
So then I
Write
started.
it down. Look
We'll
it
look
up.
it up later.
I
You
started.
got a Webster's dictionary over here?
Probably got one. Yeah, right there.
Oh, there
You want it?
I gotta start with what letter does it start with?
So I started thinking about it, and I was like, this is a way that there can be an impact that's bigger on a broader scale. So that's why I started thinking about doing this, because for that very reason. And then I reached out to Josh, and I'm like, hey man, how would you feel about being a part of this? Because Josh and I go way back, and he was like, absolutely.
I was like, this
So-
is
So your very thought process was what kind of spawned into this thing, and wanting to kind of reach out to more people, because I don't think there's anything, at least I haven't seen anything, at least on YouTube or anything, for the submarine community that there is something like this.
No.
And that's what made us really want to, Josh and I wanted to put this together and get it out here, was because there's a lot of alcoholics in the submarine force, and a lot of them don't want to admit it. The point that I was talking about that we'll get into a lot more on another podcast is the Navy doesn't promote alcoholism, but it makes a lot of alcoholics.
Oh yeah.
And when I say it doesn't promote them or doesn't promote alcoholism, it doesn't put billboards up outside of the bases. It doesn't hand out pamphlets like it does for Sapper and all this other stuff. Like, hey, go become an alcoholic. Hey, here's where you can go drink and become an alcoholic, or here's how much alcohol is in each one of the drinks so you can get drunk the fastest. But it promotes it and makes alcoholics by the way that and we were guilty of it. All three of us sitting here at this table were guilty of it.
Operates.
By the way it operates, by the way when you pull into a Liberty port, for those of us that did, sorry boomers, when we pull into a Liberty port, by the way we talk about where the places are to go. I'll meet you at the bar. I've had a shitty day. I'm going to go home and drink. I've had a great day. Everybody got promoted. We're going home and celebrating. That's how the Navy ends up making alcoholics. And if you don't like the message I'm saying, I don't really give a shit, because it's the truth. After 20 years of doing it, you got over 60 years of experience sitting at this table. We can all attest to it. It makes alcoholics because of the things I just talked about. So
it's when do we break the chain? When do we stop the cycle?
That's
That's tough.
That stuff right there is just a bridge into the whole nother podcast topic. But the Navy makes alcoholics, not everybody, but it makes a lot of them. It just doesn't promote alcoholism. So I do agree that there's a lot of things there, and I think that this is helpful if people are willing to listen to it, or if people are willing, even if you don't think you have a problem with it and you listen to this, you could take this message and pass it on to someone you might know that does.
Someone else.
Absolutely.
Reach to an extended family member, an extended friend, or a friend of a
shipmate,
family mate, and say, hey,
someone in your division.
Just watch this real quick.
Matt talked about a lot of stuff today, and if you listen to his and you go and you heard things in his that you see taking place with someone in your division on your boat, or someone in your family, you could take those things that he talked about and say, hey, I see you going down the same path that I saw this guy in this podcast, Matt Seeger, going down. I think maybe we need to have a talk. Why don't you come over and have a seat, man? Let's talk about this. That's the point of this.
And it'll be okay. Like, it's not like, like you said, hey, I want to help you. I'm not persecuting you. I don't have
You're not
a wire
trouble.
on me. Yeah.
And the greatest thing about this forum is we can make a broader reach. We can talk to more than just people in Groton.
Oh,
Yeah.
We can reach people from here all the way around the world to Guam, Bangor, Norfolk, every single people
We've got
from
people watching it in Hawaii and
it doesn't just have to be
North,
the Navy,
yeah.
it can be anywhere.
Right, you're going to touch the military in general.
And
general.
that's what I just got to figure out these algorithms and all these hashtags and shit, but I don't even know how to do that.
good thing he's a sonar tech. They're good at that kind of
Right.
stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. So
One day I'll bring the snacks to the podcast.
Sloppy Joes.
yeah, there we
And
go.
that mac and cheese.
Yeah, so that's the hope anyways, that we can help more people, but like Matt said, he's already helped one, so we're already ahead of the game.
Yes.
He helped raise the bar for us.
Boom, knuckles, baby. And that's what it's all about. Help pay it forward.
That's right. So, all right, Matt, you got anything else?
I could probably talk for hours. about that.
Yeah, no, I feel the same way.
Probably jumped around back and forth.
But it's easy. Once we get going, it's easy to keep this stuff flowing.
Yeah. No, it's been a good ride. Like I said, I appreciate what you guys are doing. I hope you guys get that one person that you're able to help.
Oh, we will. We probably already
I was
have.
going to say, you probably already have, and you just don't know it yet.
They may not have told us. And you know what? They don't have to.
Right.
They don't have to tell us.
No, just the fact that somebody got better,
Right.
it's okay.
Yep, that's all that matters. They don't have to tell us. I don't need to hear about it. Josh doesn't need to hear about it.
If they can admit to themselves and go, man,
Yep.
I need to change. Boom. They're starting that acceptance.
Right.
Because then they're going to take action.
Right. Absolutely.
And that's, hey, you know what's coming up this weekend?
What's that? Oh, yeah. With Josh. Oh, speaking of which, I got that as a
Best
question.
day of the year besides Christmas, because I think I'm Mr. Christmas. But
Father's.
We got Father's
Father's
Day.
Day.
We got next weekend. You know what next weekend is?
wait, let me think.
It's your house, dude. You should know.
Oh, that's right. No, this weekend, the
Is
day
it?
before Father's Day,
Yeah,
the
it's-
14th,
Oh, yeah.
Flag Day.
So
We're doing our first training.
So this weekend, Saturday, Josh's house. If you want to go, send either the Stack and Wins show a message or send it to Josh on Facebook because he's still learning. He's got to stop using that as an excuse. Send Josh a message asking for
DM
his,
me. I learned that. DM me, and I'll send you my address privately. I'm not going to send it out and have
Yeah.
Everybody,
no
everybody
crazy
show up.
people like, hey, where's burgers and dogs?
Ask
Slap
Josh
your
for his address, and we'll get it to you so you can meet over there to do some good rucking to get ready for the Tough Ruck. Speaking of which, you doing a Tough Ruck next year? So Matt's
Yeah.
doing it too. The team's
Baby.
getting bigger. Okay, so Rich is doing it. Matt's doing it. Everybody's doing a Tough Ruck. I just got Megan's bag in from
Did you get one of those?
Go Ruck. Yeah,
Oh,
those bags
nice.
are nice. I'll show you
Fun.
guys.
I've
Yeah.
been looking at them.
I'm gonna get the 20. She's got the 15-liter.
Okay.
They're nice. I think they're definitely worth it because of how rigid they are.
Yeah.
So I'll show you guys.
I got
when
a
we leave.
couple buddies coming from church that are super interested, so I think we can get a good team together.
Tell them there's no such thing as interested. It's doing it.
Well, they're going to be there.
Okay, I'll tell them.
I got two guys. They got stuff going on.
Just
so
tell
they
them I
can't be
hope
there.
they don't mind vulgar language just because they're from church doesn't mean I don't.
Yeah.
I got a lot of. I got a lot.
Whiskers touching the nose that makes you go pow pow pow.
And then so yeah, we got the Tough Ruck.
And we're going to leave
Prep.
by 8 o'clock in the morning. 10 miles.
I
8
will
o'clock.
not be
10.
there that weekend.
That's okay.
That's this weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So happy Father's Day. Since we're
Yes.
not going to have another podcast before then, to all the fathers out there,
Yeah.
you got three of them
And-
sitting at the table right here, and yeah,
And if you haven't talked to your old man in a while, suck
Do
it
it.
up, stack that win, call him, man.
Call your
He's
dad.
going to meet the world.
yeah, because
to
they may
him,
not be
man.
around forever.
Amend
I know
those
for,
relationships.
One day you won't be able to call them.
that's
Yep.
right. I can't call mine anymore.
Me either.
So
Part of the recovery is amending certain relationships.
yep. So call
So-
your dads if you still got them. But yeah, I think that's all I got, guys. Anything else, Josh?
No?
Josh,
I
you
think
got to
we're
hit
good.
him. Get him.
Come on, you know what you got to do. Hit that subscribe button, like it. It helps us out. It gets us out around the world, man. It just helps us out. And last week I talked about the Good Samaritan. I got another one for everybody. If you want to look it up, man, look up a good story from the Bible called Woman at the Well. Check those out. It's going to help you stack wins. It's going to help people be better people.
Oh,
Little
that's a good
story.
one.
Woman at the Well.
Okay, man. Anything else?
No, I'm good this time.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much. Please subscribe to the channel. It helps out. And thanks again, Matt, for coming on.
Absolutely.
I really
Thank you,
appreciate
brother.
it.
We appreciate it.
I was really looking forward to Matt coming. I knew he had a lot of good stuff to talk about. And all right, everybody. We'll see you on the next one. Stack of Wins.
Yes.